Well, welcome back. Today is Monday, the 24th of February, 2020. And up on the Hill today, we actually had kind of a clean day. For the most part, bills that were coming through were uncontested, or Representative Thurston wanted to throw his objection out to almost everything that came through. But aside from that, not really anything too exciting, but I did want to rewind back to Friday. So in my last video, we did focus on a new piece of legislation that came through. We also had another piece of legislation that is really worth looking at. It's not numbered yet, but it is hot off the presses, and we really want to take a look at it. It is a Senator Bramble in process bill, so it's not yet been numbered, but it's all about redistricting, pardon me. And within this idea of redistricting, most legislators will look at that and say, okay, we're going to take a particular district and we're going to look at its boundaries, its borders. Maybe things have grown too large, maybe too small, and we want to, subdivide just exactly how the senators and representatives of the state of Utah are set up. Now, for those of you that have been politically minded for a few years, this is going to sound like a repeat because it was only 2 years ago in 2018 that we had Prop 4 that came across and we passed it. And Prop 4 really started this idea of making sure that we had these boundaries set up in legislative districts. So I've got the link down below. We'll be watching carefully for the exact language, but a lot of the reporting has come out, so we don't need at this point to really guess what Senator Bramble's bill is going to have. We can really know and understand what it is. Before we get there, let's look at this other big word called gerrymandering. And if you're not familiar with what gerrymandering is, this is actually a process whereby legislative districts are very creatively laid out and placed so that if a Republican per se, or Democrat, or any particular party or ideal would like to get elected, and they recognize, man, I've got some people over here in my state and some people over here in the state, so if I just do all these nice little squares, I really can't get these people together. So instead, they'll form long snakes or pockets or very, very strange boundaries that become this idea of gerrymandering, wherein there's really no rhyme or reason to why that particular shape was chosen, other than we want to get this place and this place in the same district so that we can elect a particular type of individual. Check out the link below over at the Fulcrum. They actually did a tremendous job going around to some experts and looking at some of the top gerrymandering that's actually alive today. And this was only published a few months ago. So one of the ways you can look at that as well is within this particular process of Prop 4, the legislators teamed up with Better Boundaries. And if you're not familiar with Better Boundaries, they were this organization that really was pushing for Prop 4. I've got their link below. Go crazy. Check out their website. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. But what's happened here is in 2018, we knew that we were going to have some redistricting in 2021. So not for the upcoming election, but down the road. Legislators have been kind of kicking the can a little bit, and enough is enough. Now we have to do something. So for the past couple months, the legislators have been meeting in secret with this Better Boundaries organization. And this is all about that Prop 4. Now, originally, Prop 4 created a 7-member independent redistricting commission. And they've been negotiating for months now just exactly where we feel some things may work. And the legislation actually came back and said, there's some things with Prop 4 that are unconstitutional. So then what happened is the discussion between these two groups broke down, and now we have this open bill file from Senator Bramble. And this is going to be something where they're going to be trying to make some changes. Now let's rewind back to Prop 4. So there was a number of initiatives that year, one of which was medical cannabis. It passed. It quickly got gutted by the legislature. The next was the expansion of Medicaid. Same thing. It quickly got gutted by the legislature. And now this last one, Prop 4, we thought we were safe with. Nope. The legislators are going to gut this one as well. With Prop 4, it was a little different. It passed with just over 50%. and it failed in 18 of the 29 Senate districts, and it also failed in 43 of the 75 House districts. So what this all means is that if they want this thing to roll through, they're going to have to get 2 more senators and 7 more representatives to get behind this so that they can have that magical 2/3 or supermajority, which would make it referendum proof. Again, we're very familiar with that referendum. It was brought about with the bad tax legislation that the legislators tried to shove down our throats because they didn't have that supermajority. I think our legislators have learned, and they are going to come back guns blazing. So anyways, after all of that, what do we know about this, and what some of the changes are in this Bramble bill? So the first thing is that the initiative said that the legislature shall, and this is an important word, shall make their staff available to the commission, and that is unconstitutional. So the legislators saying, hey, we can't make our staff available. We may not even be able to make our reporting available to this independent commission. So what are we going to do? The legislators now saying that they're going to, with this bill, fund the commission, which could cost into the millions for staff, as well as how are you going to get all of the infrastructure so that they can put together this particular redistricting? Where's the software going to come from? Now, the other thing here is it does take out the ability for the public to sue the legislature if they don't follow certain criteria, meaning no right of private action is going to be in Bramble's bill. We also know that the 2 parts that were heavily debated and where the breakdown really happened, and this is some things that the Supreme Court has not ruled on. So the first is incumbent protection. And so what they really wanted to look at with Prop 4 was that you can't take into account where the current legislator lives. So whoever the senator, House representative, governor, you name it, you can't say, oh, this guy lives here, he's in office, he's a Democrat, he's a Republican, he's independent. Let's make sure that as we carve out this new shape, that it has his best interest or her best interest at heart. Can't do that. The other is this partisan symmetry, meaning that each area is as equal as possible. So instead of saying, man, there's a lot of Democrats or a lot of Republicans here, let's slice it up so we get as close to 50-50 as possible. Again, these are a couple things that the Supreme Court has not ruled on. So the Bramble bill, is also rumored to say that the commission can set whatever standard they want, but the Supreme Court needs, the legislators need to follow the Supreme Court, the Voters' Right Act, and others when they're setting these boundaries. So we'll see kind of how this works. We have the committee, the commission that's going to be doing this, but then we also have the legislators who are basically coming back and saying, not so fast. We also are going to tell you what we can and cannot do. So the other thing we have now is that the legislators, again, are changing all 3 of the ballot initiatives from 2018. Like we said, again, that was the cannabis, Medicaid expansion, and now the redistricting. And I don't know what else to say other than this just has to look so bad for any of these legislators that are up there. The voice of the people was raised through these initiatives. We can talk about ballot initiatives before and why democracy should not rule. We should be a democratic republic where our representatives take care of these things, but we didn't. We ran an initiative, and now we're getting disappointed. The last thing to bear in mind is that with Prop 4, it had a 7-person committee, and this was made up of 4 Republicans, 3 Democrats. Well, now, with this particular bill, Bramble has found a unique way where we might actually wind up with 5 Republicans and only 2 Democrats. What do I mean by that? Well, it's all who gets to appoint people to this committee. So there's 3 votes that we want to look at first. It is the governor, the second would be the president of the Senate, and then the Speaker of the House. They're all Republicans. You can imagine, who are they going to put in? The next would be the minority whip of both the House and the Senate. Minority whip means the Democratic leadership. They will put in Democrats. The last one is also mutating quite a bit, where we're going to have the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate get to choose an independent. What does that mean? Well, the independent simply means that they have not registered to vote Republican or Democrat or a major party for the last 2 years. But you can bet your bottom dollar These guys are quite smart. They know that this holds a lot of sway. So I agree. We will be getting 5 Republicans and only 2 Democrats. So some interesting things here going on. And again, it's very important because as we draw these boundaries, it allows particular individuals to almost be a shoo-in for that particular district, and for others that may have conservative ideas, liberal ideas, whatever the ideas are, they all of a sudden are up against a rock and a hard place because these new boundaries have basically said who is in those districts and who is predisposed to vote in a certain way. Again, a lot of this is really interesting to me. Hopefully it is for you as well. Again, we'll continue to look out for the bills tomorrow. We do have quite a bit of things going up on the Hill, so I'll be back tomorrow to report on what we see there. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and post your comments below. Thank you so much.